DIRT TRAX TV is sponsored by Polaris, think outside. Can-Am, follow your path. Yamaha, revs your heart. And by Honda Power Sports, power your dreams, whatever the terrain.
Our reimagined Grizzly build 10 years after the original WR700 is really starting to come into its own. And today I've got some important parts that are going to step it up in their performance department. Right up front, the MBRP AT6412 SP exhaust system will help flow more air while sounding much better with a very moderate but more aggressive note. The system is made of aluminized steel that's black coated and does save in the weight department as well. It looks nice and it goes on with nothing but hand tools while being covered with a 1-year warranty. Now, you've probably heard it said that an engine is just an air pump, and if we're going to flow more air out, we need to flow more air in. And EHS Racing has come to the party here pretty huge. EHS has done quite a lot for us on this build. Firstly, the 2019 to current intake system that features a beautifully machined aluminum intake adapter and allows for the use of a very oversized K&N cone style filter. Once we have these installed, we can then install the EHS airbox cover lid. It features a huge cutout with a perfectly fit aluminum surround and frog skin style filter mesh screen. This will allow the Grizzly to breathe deeper without any restriction. Another cool add-on from EHS is their EFI controller that will allow us to finely tune the already reflashed ECU from EHS as well. You supply them with your intake and exhaust as well as clutching changes and tire size, and they program the stock ECU to fit. This tuner just gives us the next level in terms of ability to then fine-tune the reflash and get everything possible from this 700 Grizzly. And speaking of clutching changes, this is another area we need to take up a notch. When it comes to the Ultramatic clutches, you want to talk to the guys from AD Clutching because they know a whole lot. Supplying AD Clutching with all the pertinent specs of our build and knowing that they work closely with EHS Racing as well means that I'm going to get the perfect kit for my riding style and upgrades. The kit AD suggests was their machine sheave kit that includes a brand new machined genuine Yamaha clutch sheave to help with overall power. A full set of greaseless weights in the proper grammage for our setup along with greaseless sliders. A new secondary spring was also supplied along with a secondary slippery washer to help improve backshift. They also supplied me with a primary shim to help with the bottom end and a full set of wet clutch slugs and wet clutch cover gasket to ensure we get a good seal. They also included some Tink Seal Ultramatic grease substitute that helps lower friction, can be used on all sliding primary and secondary surfaces, and features nanoparticle transfer. What I take away from this is that this stuff outperforms traditional Ultramatic grease in all areas, which helps increase performance. I also chose not to reinstall the stock Yamaha drive belt, but instead opted for a Dayco XTX 2241 belt supplied by Motovan Canada, ensuring that all that power from the engine mods and primary clutch will get through to the secondary and then down to the ground. Now, while I'm talking about Motovan, they hooked me up with this really cool anti-gravity battery as well as some engine ice coolant. The anti-gravity ATX12 battery is simply put incredible. It weighs only 2.6 pounds. Yeah, you heard that right. Its lithium-ion design means you get 360 cranking amps, and it even has a built-in jump starter with a starting button, so you never get stranded with a dead battery. You can mount the anti-gravity batteries in any orientation, and it saves around 7 pounds of weight. Now that is impressive. We will also be flushing our coolant system and replacing it with engine ice to help keep operating temps lower and help to capture any contaminants that can be found in the cooling system. And last but not least, I have a couple more parts from AD Clutching that I just couldn't resist. The black aluminum Perfex 3-inch foot pegs are here in case I need more grip than my D3 footwells offer. AD also sent me their really slick black anodized and milled Grizzly billet shifter handle. It's super clean, smaller, and more positive feeling with finger cutouts. Doesn't hurt that it looks so darn good too. So our Grizzly is looking really good. I mean, next level cool. But there's one more thing to do. We're gonna head out to Accelerated Technologies, where our brand new Elka Stage 5 shocks are waiting for us. And they're not only gonna install them, they're gonna custom tune them to our Grizzly with all of the accessories and add-ons that we've put on it. So without further ado, let's get going. We arrived at Accelerated Technologies and were greeted by John Sharrard, who is going to take our Elka shock package and bring it to a whole new level by custom tuning it specifically for our Grizzly.
With the Elka, once you step into that investment, there's so much opportunity, right? We can probably put about 80 different spring combos on.
Gotcha.
Between a tender spring and a crossover height, and then the main spring. you can get unbelievable articulation and grip from that alone.
Yep.
And then we can control body roll, we control anti-bottoming with the mainspring. There's so much we can do. What I'll do is I'll start on capturing a couple of the baseline setups.
Sure.
And then Jen, maybe I'll pull shocks off, give them to you. You can check preload and spring rate, start rate and end rate, and at what percentage it crosses over. And that'll tell us a lot about what we're up against. If we look right now, front to rear, once AJ got on, statically, the rear was higher than the front, which is a problem. But once he got on, the rear went down a fair bit. So we're going to go down on spring rate. So the ride comfort and compliance should be a lot better than it was, but we'll give you a lot more control in the shock absorber. There's a misconception that preload makes it stronger or makes it stiffer.
Right.
And it does not. Okay. Adding preload purely pushes down on the spring and lifts the vehicle.
Right.
What Jen has done is picked a crossover height. So the height of this black plastic crossover piece at some point in the travel of the shock will hit the preload adjuster and lock and stop. And then it takes the tender spring out of the equation and the effective rate goes up. We came up to our test track here and we went in 3 stages. We did walking pace and then looked at see the travel. And then we did jogging pace and we looked at the travel. And in those 2 investigations, what we were looking for was the travel to be even front to rear. And that tells us is the machine biased properly in terms of spring rate. The motion ratio of the front shocks is different than the rear. The front springs are stronger. And it used almost exactly the same percentage travel. And then we got out to our test field and we went for a rip and none of the shocks bottomed. They all came down within maybe 10 millimeters of the bump rubber. And that tells us that our crossover point in our dual rate spring strategy from tender, when the tender locks out, goes onto the mainspring is great. It's super, super close. At this point, we're happy with the spring rate. We're happy with the preload. The sags are right. So now we would look at damping. Okay. As we add compression damping, the shock is going to get firmer and firmer. So every click of compression damping is going to make that shock 5% stronger. Okay. We've got 20 clicks of low speed, 18 clicks of high speed. We got tons of range for you to make the shock stronger and stronger and stronger. The compression damping is the resistance to the tire coming up or the bike coming down, the quad coming down. And then rebound is the speed at which we let the tire come back out. Elka will give you 40 clicks of adjustability.
There's 40 in there.
40.
Oh, wow, okay.
And that sounds overwhelming. But realize once we set it where we want to set it for those springs, we're probably only going to move them 4 or 5 clicks. We supply these shocks with tremendous adjustability, and then we try to take moments like this to train and tell you how to tune them and give you some ballparks. And you're welcome to call us at any point too for a reminder. We've checked the calibration of the shocks is good. The springs are excellent. The sag is right. So now I would just kind of fine tune the rebound a couple clicks up or down until it's just keeping the tire in contact and the thing is tracking straight. And then work on your compression.
We appreciate your help today. This has been good, man. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, AJ. It was a pleasure.
I'm excited to get out. I got to ride this now.
Trail Tech is sponsored by Princess Auto. Make it work.
So the time has come to introduce you to a build that I am super excited about. This right here is a CFMOTO UFORCE 1000 XL, and it is about to become the DIRT TRAX Overland build over the next couple of weeks. CFMOTO has generously supplied us with the base for this build, and you might ask why we're using a CFMOTO. Simply put, you can go out to many other manufacturers and spec out an overlandish vehicle right at the dealership, use their factory accessories, and walk out the door with everything that you need at a significant price tag. But that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to build an overland rig from a base vehicle that offers incredible value, which the UFORCE 1000 XL does. and then add on both custom and aftermarket accessories to show you just how impressive of a following CFMOTO has in the retail marketplace. Yes, when we're done, the cost of this will be more than just wheels, tires, and a lift-style build, but in comparison to many other overland options in the market, this is gonna be a massive value. So first things first, we're building an overland rig, so we need to put a rooftop tent on this. The stock plastic roof, while very nice, just isn't up for the job of supporting a rooftop tent from Go Overland, so we're gonna need to send this thing out to D3 Off-Road Fabrication to have a custom aluminum roof made that will support all that extra weight. Okay, so I'm super excited about this build. I'm really excited to let you sort of have your way with it and do what you want to do.
Yep.
Obviously, we got to fit the rooftop tent on there from Go Overland.
Yes.
And as we just found out, it's
big,
a little bit bigger than the roof of this vehicle. So, I mean, I know you had some ideas and some thoughts. I'm sure those will change as you go, but maybe just walk me through what you're thinking and how we're going to get that thing up there.
So we're thinking a nice aluminum roof, keep the elements out underneath, and then we're gonna have some bars to go across to support the tent. And because of the size of the tent, I'm thinking of adding something off the back here to help support the tail weight of it.
Okay.
And I think the ladder comes up the side.
Yep.
So that should work out really nice. And I'm thinking of rolling the roof down the front here as well.
Cool.
Just to kind of finish off that look.
Awesome. You've got the tent here, which is great. So you can get a feel for how long you need to go. And I mean, like we were saying, this is what you do every day. So you do you, and I'm sure it'll turn out awesome.
Yep, for sure. Make it look good and work good.
Now, after D3 got finished up with the fabrication, we needed to send that roof out so that it matched the rest of the side-by-side, and sending it to JP Powder Coat was a simple choice. At JP, they were able to put on a nice wrinkle black finish, which is the most durable and also the finish that most similarly matches the stock roll bar and components. It also blends well with the rest of the aftermarket parts we're installing to look seamless and really give a cohesive style to the build. So with everything back here in the shop, it is the time I am most excited for, build time. So let's get this roof on the UFORCE. Now it's a big roof because the rooftop tent is such a long part. There's also a cross brace bar to help with placing the tent onto the roof. D3 made cool supports that mount to the rear of the roll bar and add support for the extended portion of the roof. The fit of this roof is pristine. The front roll is precise, the cuts and welds are flawless, and the overall design and look is exactly what we wanted. Custom, but if you told me that this was a factory available part, I'd believe you because it's such a perfect fit up. D3 did a great job on this, and JP Powder Coating finished it in a way that makes it look like it was always meant to be here. Okay, so I'm ready for the Go Overland rooftop tent, but the truth is, it's really big and a little bit awkward to put on, so using mechanical assistance is going to be a benefit here so that I don't damage the powder coat on the brand new roof. The Explorer X2 two-person tent from Go Overland fits up beautifully thanks to D3's precision fab work. Overall tent weight is about 150 pounds and it's built out of aluminum, so it's durable. The bolt-through design is simple and secure and gives me the confidence that the roof will stay put no matter the situation we put it through. Now the Go Overland Explorer X tent is really cool and it's fully feature-packed right from the factory, so you don't need to worry about buying anything else. And what I mean by that is this tent is a full 4-season rooftop tent. It includes a detachable winter insulation kit, a 13-foot by 9-foot add-on awning, an interior LED light strip, 2 crossbars for the top of the tent to secure equipment to. It has finely netted screens to keep the bugs out, comes with a telescopic aluminum ladder, and even a 2-inch memory foam mattress and anti-condensation mat. The tent goes up in an impressive 45 seconds with the help of 4 hydraulic assist arms, and you can even leave your bedding inside the tent when you collapse it down to help with storage. The shell of the tent is 280D polyester with UPF 50 sun protection as well as a ripstop. The tent will hold 2 full-size adults and has a capacity rating of 600 pounds. And remember, everything I mentioned is included. No add-on expenses, no down-the-road costs, just one price, one box shipped to your door, ready to go. Now at this point, we could head out for a weekend and have a whole lot of fun, but the reality is, you gotta stay tuned to more of Dirt Tracks because this Overland build is just getting started.
Dirt Tracks has been sponsored by Kawasaki. Let the good times roll. MBRP Performance Exhaust, built for the victory lap. And by Hercules Tire, ride in our strength.
The last time I rode a brute force was 2012. It's ridiculous, I know, but I've been excited to ride this 2024 model because Kawai's done some body work and rider control updates, which we'll talk about more shortly. I know Luke did a full overview of this machine on our YouTube channel not long ago and combed over the entire 2024 brute force lineup. But I wanted to take this LE for a boot and then give you my own thoughts on its performance because, hey, my opinion matters too. At least that's what my mom says. Before I launch into my impressions of the brute force, let's clear up a few points about this updated unit. The base brute force platform, engine, and chassis are all unchanged in this update. However, it did receive new bodywork featuring taller, tougher looking fenders, full LED lighting, a handlebar mounted light pod like the Grizzly and King Quad featuring an all new 4.3-inch full color display with Bluetooth connectivity to your phone and to the Kawi app, handguards, and plastic covers over the traditional steel racks with tons of tie-down points and a combined rack capacity of 265 pounds. Plus, there's this new cover for the winch location that looks really nice in case you decide not to add a winch to your unit. It should be noted that no brute force models come equipped with a winch. Now that we've covered what's new, let's look at some of the features that remain unchanged on the brute force. Every brute force model is equipped with the same CST 25x8 and 25x10 tires wrapped around 12-inch wheels. These are pretty nice looking wheels, and for stock tires, these do what they're supposed to do. I'm just surprised to see Kawasaki not using at least 26-inch tires. Both comparable trims of the Grizzly and King Quad feature 26-inch tires and, not surprisingly, have a bit more ground clearance. I'd like to see the LE using at least 26 inches to remain competitive. Two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive are actuated via this toggle switch on the right-hand side, and diff locker is still actuated via this lever on the left-hand side, which, by the way, is the same lever that was used before I rode this in 2012. I've gone back and forth with my opinion on this lever, and although it is really low-tech and a bit outdated, it does work really well and can quickly be engaged and disengaged just as fast by letting go of the lever. The only time I could see this lever get frustrating is if you had to hold it in for an extended period of time while navigating the terrain you needed it for. Truthfully though, it works fine for short bursts, and although the expectation in this class is the updated and more modern push-button design, if this tech remained a hallmark of the brute force, I personally could just live with it. Dual brake levers operate disc brakes up front and an enclosed wet brake out back. The disc brakes work nicely, but I'm not a fan of this rear brake design and feel it's time to say bye-bye to the enclosed wet brake and make the move to discs at all four corners to maximize stopping power. The brute force uses double wishbone suspension featuring 6.9 inches of travel up front and 7.4 out back, which is slightly less than a 700 Kodiak and Grizzly. The suspension is relatively basic, featuring steel body emulsion shocks suspended by single rate springs and snail cam adjusters. When using the brute force for work-related tasks or slower casual riding, this suspension works fine. However, when you want to turn up the dial for a joyride or tackle more challenging terrain, the suspension gets overwhelmed and I can feel every nuance of the trail. Furthermore, there's too little EPS input for my preference, which combined with the lower grade shocks and springs can make for a more labored ride. That said though, sway bars do an excellent job keeping this ATV planted while cornering aggressively. In the absence of a total suspension overhaul, I would like to see Kawasaki upgrade the shocks and damping profiles and add just a little more input to the EPS to bring it on par with the Grizzlies. Seat height is 35.2 inches, which is about an inch lower than the King Quad and Grizzly, and transitioning from sitting and standing is near effortless. I immediately felt comfortable in the saddle. Ergonomics are near perfect for my size, and the seat is comfortable and actually not too wide considering there's a V-twin housed under it. The 749cc V-twin in the brute force is hands down the most powerful engine in this mid-board Japanese-built ATV category. There's no documented horsepower numbers, but it is every bit of 50 horsepower and just an absolute torque monster. Throttle tip-in is aggressive and should immediately bring a smile to your face, though I do feel like all-day low-speed trail crawling might get a bit tedious, but this isn't where the brute wants to play. There's plenty of power on tap at every squeeze of the throttle as the brute force builds to a decent top end. Seriously, this machine feels like a pure sport disguised as a utility ATV, and it's just another shining example of why its competition should be using twin-cylinder engines in their lineup. Although Polaris and Can-Am seem to be willing to shelve existing technology and replace it with more powerful, more efficient engines, the four Japanese manufacturers, including Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, and Kawasaki, seem quite content remaining in the mid-bore 40 to 50 horsepower class. So why is this? Price is a big factor, But it's more because this power range is where most of us play on the trails anyways. Plus, you're less likely to experience critical failures and belt blowouts in this power range, which is something that's more likely to happen on a 90 horsepower ATV. This reality further reinforces the Japanese-built ATV's long-standing reputation for reliability. The Brute Force LE is competitively priced in this category at around 12 grand US and 14.4 Canadian, and is the top-tier package in the Brute Force lineup. But we think Kawasaki should offer one more package higher than this with a few more goodies. If not on this LE model, what about an SE like the Grizzly? Offered with 14-inch wheels and more aggressive 26 or 27-inch tires, a winch, and higher-end adjustable shocks. From the comments we're seeing online from all of you, we aren't alone on that thought either. For any gripes I have about the Brute Force, I can't get over how impressive this engine is. And although we really would like to see a complete overhaul of this chassis, the class-leading power out of this V-twin is enough to muscle this ATV into our hearts with brute force.